Hey,
Hello.
how are
Can you
you
hear me?
doing? Yeah, I can hear
Good.
you.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. Trying to remember now what I've been doing the past few nights. I played 1,000 times Resist.
Oh,
That's what I've been
how
doing.
would you like it?
Yeah, overall I liked it. It was unique. It was it's like a ton of information in a game like that. Like they presented it very well with short snippets, and you can click through them. I like the voice acting. And I know I kind of have followed like the history of Hong Kong, which I guess it touched on that a lot. And so I think I got most of, and then I remember like Min Max's discussion about it. I think during their 210s thing that they do. And so I
Right.
feel like overall I think I got delivered like the enough of like I followed along with the game, but even then it felt like a lot of information, a lot of stuff going on, and it was tough to keep it. Like I think that's intentional, so that's sort of it does a good job of like managing the players' expectations about what they should understand and what they shouldn't. And that's I guess that's kind of what the game is about. Everyone sort of
Yeah.
having different thoughts in their head, and yeah.
Yeah,
uh,
for sure. Yeah, I could
and
see that
yeah.
going either way for engagement. It definitely, I think for me, like it was something I kept thinking about for a week or so after, uh, and
Mm.
certain things like trying to figure out which characters from like the like pre uh I don't know, time skip like were other characters
Mm.
and
Oh yeah.
yeah, sorry for spoilers. But yeah, and I was like some things at least when I was searching I couldn't quite Google, so it was a lot of like yeah, trying to figure
Mm.
things out on my own and yeah, I really enjoyed it, but
Yeah, I
glad you
had
played it.
to. Yeah, there was yeah, just one rough spot that when you have to like answer the questions at one point, and I didn't have like all the responses to select from. I had to go back to another scene and like talk to some more people. But that was just one like rough corner that I had to get on the internet and figure out like how do I get past this part where it's asking me to
Oh,
like match
interesting.
phrases. And yeah.
Yeah.
uh and then also it's interesting to me that I'll sit down and I'll watch like a 2 or a 2.5 hour movie, and I really sometimes I'm looking at the time bar, like I'm looking at how much time in the movie is left, and I'll break up a movie, or I just like to know if I'm gonna like stay up late, I'll work on something. But in a game, there's no real way to do that exactly. I played for like 4 hours, and then finally like I never looked up like how long the game was, but in the first night I thought I'll play for 4 hours, I'll see if I can like finish it. And I had no idea where I was after 4 hours. I was like chapter whatever, and I didn't know how many chapters there were. And then I came back to it on a second night and played for I guess another 4 hours, because my total time ended up being like 8 or 9 hours or something. And but it's interesting that my mind is sort of like sort of framing this as a movie, but then if it's like a 9 hour movie that doesn't tell you how long it is, but
Yeah.
that is like the medium. Like there isn't really a way to get around that without just making it a movie, and it's not supposed to exactly be that. But it's hard when it's delivering you a storyline, and you're always like in convert. It's like you're sort of living a life, and then you're just trying to figure out, well, where do I pause and when do I come back? And uh, it's hard to manage the game. Uh, if I had less time to play, it would be tough to come back and just it could fill every night as much as you wanted for like 4 or 5 nights. Uh,
Right.
and that's tough. That's like a lot of content. And then really, yeah, you start thinking about it a lot. It's a lot to, and I'm not actually sure. I guess games don't really expect you to go in with any knowledge. And so then it's hard, it's a difficult proposition, like say like a 10 hour investment without exactly knowing the theme. And and then I guess I mentioned that one part of friction because it's sort of the impossibility of, do you invest 5 hours and then there's just this one puzzle, and it's not even a puzzle, it's just talking to the right people in the right area and then answering sort of a multi-choice prompt that you get stuck there and you're like, do I spend 15 minutes? Like, you start looking at the time and you're like, well, I can't stay up, and then or do I look it up and kind of break the immersion? And there's
it's like the meta level
it's interesting from a
decision-making.
design. Yeah, it's like a design question. How do players or developers manage that? I guess it's like whatever the game is going to ask you to do. It'd be nice if it sort of does that up front somehow, which is impossible also. But if it's going to ask a different mechanic or something, maybe expose the player to that early on so they kind of know, or the right amount of prompting or something. Like, after certain failed attempts, it could prompt you or something.
Yeah, I feel like that is I think managing audience / player, just like expectation, and any consumer of the art that is being produced, I think it is most challenging with particularly narrative games. It feels like managing expectations there is really difficult to
yeah
a lot of challenges.
I am much more comfortable with like short, like if things are short, they make a promise of like a time limit, or if they're like a 10-minute experience, like you download a story game on itch and it's only going to be like 10 minutes or something. That's sort of, it's like as long or as bad as it is if it's a guaranteed sort of one session thing with even no ability to save. Then that's playing it safe, I guess.
Right.
But it's also it's not delivering any sort of full experience. I guess we can talk about spoilers, because I'm interested in the kind of the ending part where and I'll just say exactly what it is, so if any people can avoid spoilers if they want, but it's where you have to like turn on and off all those different people, and then I guess there's a branching at that.
Yeah, have you looked up like what all the different endings are based on what you picked?
I guess I had to, because I felt I didn't really know. Like, my first thing was I left everybody on, and then I got like just shot in the face immediately. And so then I went and I turned off the person that like shot me, thinking like, well, I'll see where this goes. Then I got shot by the other people. But then at that point, I should have just turned off the other people that shot me. But instead, I turned off everybody except for the two parents. And then everything was gray. And like nothing. It was sort of like a dead thing as well. And then I wasn't sure what to do, because I sort of just did the calculation of like, well, there's like n factorial or whatever it would be, like a binary number equal to the number of digits of number of people or something. So then I thought, like, I know that that's not it, because these were like shockingly disappointing, like abrupt endings. It wants me to do something, but I couldn't. From what it showed me, I thought the message was like, had to be sort of like everybody on, or what is it telling me, like that it is correct? Like, it seems like it felt like the game does have an opinion, and it was trying to teach me something about some of these groups of people should be off, and that seems quite strong for what I had been experiencing of the game up until that point. So then I actually like exited at that point and just thought, maybe I'll check something out in the future. I'll watch like a review. But then I ended up, like 30 minutes later, I went back I looked it up. I thought like, okay, what's like one of the good endings? And I think I understood. Yeah. You basically turn off, well, the two people that shot me in the endings, you turn them off and no one else. Right. And then I think it's like a branching ending based on or off with the principal. And so I turned the principal off, and then I visited. Well, then it's like, walk around the space station again and visit everyone's grave. And I was like, I don't know if I want to do that either. Like it's been so I just felt like it's been so long. Like,
Uh-huh.
do I want to run around this station again, finding the graves and go through those? But I did that. And then yeah, so then I got the ending, and then I got credits, and then I felt like then I was just sort of like almost, it was kind of fun because it was like it's like a endurance thing where yeah, at some point I just felt like I'm tired. There's so much information in my head, like so much stuff happened in the game, so many thoughts that it's just fun to like let it wash over you. And uh, it was nice that it felt like there wasn't any big, secret reveals or anything. It's like a full experience. Everything was the same weight, and that felt like very unique of a story where there's just a lot of stuff interwoven and a lot of info being delivered to you without any almost no judgment. Like it's just kind of giving you a bunch of stuff and then you get to think about it.
Yeah, I really loved the fact that afterwards I could think about through the whole plot and think about each character's motivations and their actions and yeah, what they were thinking slash doing like at each moment, because as a player, like you gain more information throughout, like the big reveal that the whole first half of the game is a communion itself, and then it's like, well, was Principal manipulating that? Probably. um yeah, like all the original sisters I thought were so interesting, and the it's a little hazy now, but like the knowledge sister and her story, or it's like heavily implied that she was the original sister, and like what does she represent? She's just kind of like does whatever it takes to survive till the very end and kind of plays both sides. And yeah, I speaking on the ending, like there was some, I don't remember where, some podcast where people were talking about the ending and having mixed opinions, which is of course valid. For me, like I loved it so much, like it's gonna stick in my head for a very long time. The idea that like you at like we get to decide what to carry forward, and at the same time there are answers that like end in death, like like if you carry forward the fascism, you get shot, and it's not saying like uh it's sort of passing judgment on that, like like it's not that there is only one right answer, but there are wrong answers, I guess. And
Yeah, I struggled with that point. I felt that at one point the game had started making the point that the watcher that we are in the first part of the game leads up to like killing the mother, and then they framed that as sort of like a mistake. Like I'm still not sure what to think about that. I felt like it made sense to attack the mother because based on what we knew about the mother, she had been sort of deciding who lives and who dies and managing things and keeping things restricted. And so then it was sort of like, that's unreasonable. Like, let's take out the power and see what comes of it. But then then they sort of, I felt that it's sort of, the game was sort of deciding that that was a rash decision and there was other things in motion that could have handled it better. And they should have, this idea of like maybe a fair trial or something was more sensible and robust was being planned or in the works. And then it was like, oh, maybe that was, it's saying like the violence was like a rash decision, even when violence was being done around you. Don't do violence because it'll just sort of add more. But then I compared that to all the like, it's, to me it always feels like when there's these like red guards or whatever around, and they're clearly written as like bullies, then I feel it's like, well, it wants the player to be like, oh, these are the bullies. Like we're fighting them when we have the chance, we'll get rid of them. And but I thought, what if you commune with them? Like the whole point is like, well, if you commune with them, you go into their head, you see that, oh, it's actually they thought they're doing the right thing and they were like built into this and they have no idea. And so when you sort of like leave everyone on in the end, representing this idea of like everyone is the same is in some sense literally the same person. It's like they're all just variations of the same thing, and they all have these mistakes they've made in a past, and it's like, do you let them go forward? Well, of course, that's if
Right.
why does this game and then it was weird that it was very shocking when it's like, no, that's wrong, like almost right away, and you don't see credits, and then so then I felt like, well, the only alternative is one of these groups of people is not equal. Like, and you're telling me I have to like authoritarian decide which group doesn't make it through and gets like erased. And it's sort of like, and that's the only way to get to credits. It was sort of like, well, now it's like, it's like, yeah, it's like, yeah, I'm just like still very confused when even it's like, well, of course, bad guys get taken out and we've colored them red to make it easy for you. And it's like
Right.
like you spent 8 hours convincing me that was not that clear, and now you're just asking me to like find the red people and turn them off.
Yeah, I feel like for me, I guess I interpreted it slightly differently, as in like, because I think the game, one of the strengths is everybody's a clone, everybody's the same, and therefore like there is an inherent level of sympathy or empathy for everybody that I think is really beautiful, that you do experience. And even when the most, I forget her name,
Ira or
yeah, or the sort of the most fascist one, who was like torturing you for a long stretch. When
that was where it was like the knower, and then she was
Knower, and
you switched names or something.
and she was like silent for the first half, and then she I feel like even her, you're sort of like, like there's something going on here with her, like maybe it's like a mental illness or something. But I interpreted the ending not so much as like, well, we're just gonna kill or disappear these people. It's more like, what ideologies do we want to carry? Like, because they also included the parents because I played this half a year ago. I'm forgetting the names of everybody, but
Right.
And it was like, well, they're already dead. Like, it's not actually them. It's just traditions. And
that makes sense. Yeah, I think that's almost where my interpretation was wrong, because it definitely makes sense that it was the groups and the ways of being or something. And in that perspective, definitely it's like an easier cut to see what is worthy and not.
But then at the same time, it's like with Principle, that was the hard decision that I thought about for a good 10 minutes, was like, do I forgive Principle? Which I think is probably a tough decision for most players, and like I ended up doing it, and then that's like a very real effect where Principle herself continues on. So it's like, I don't know. I think it can be interpreted both ways for sure.
Yeah, I never tried the principle on option. I only did principle off, and that was sort of, I just felt like that was. Yeah, and I don't even have anything to pin that to other than like bad vibes.
Like, it was interesting because I was so 50-50, and then I decided, you know what, like, I forgive her, and then like the ending, does roll credits, like it's one of the like, good options, if you choose the other things right. But then it's like Principles sort of showing you around and rewriting history kind of in distressing ways. Like, I don't remember everything exactly, but you're like, like this does feel a little off. Like principal isn't, is not perfect. And so, but then, yeah. So there's no like completely satisfying ending to me, at least. Yeah. Good game.
Yeah. And yeah, I saw the credits too. There was a somewhat large, talented group of people working in different areas making this.
Right.
And so that was interesting to see. I like sometimes for games like this where it's hard to say how many people made it. Like the fewer the number, the more talent, like raw talent, those individuals have, and if it's still if it's like a couple people in each role, like the number of 3D artists was like not that long of a list. I think it's pretty interesting when you see that where it's like, yeah, it's literally like those people there or that person, like that's the writer, that's the like
Right.
you see just people holding up like huge pillars of the game just by themselves or like two or three people.
Yeah.
It's cool. And then of course all these people like communicating and the game coming together in
Yeah.
a solid way is neat.
I was briefly obsessed and listened to at least 2 or 3 interviews that different outlets did with the team, and it was sometime, or maybe one of them was just the sort of head of the studio who started the thing, Remy Thew, I want to say, and then a couple others with Pinky, I forget their last name, but and they did a lot of the writing as well. I think both of them did a lot of the writing. And as soon as I heard Pinky talk, I was like, oh, like I see it. Like, because just the way that they spoke was like very thoughtful and sometimes difficult to parse. But it was always interesting. Like the way that they seem to view the world and speak was like almost in metaphors, and like it's like this is the writer of this game, like for sure.
Yeah.
And it was so funny to like see that sort of instantaneously.
Yeah, it's a cool thing. I've just been burnt out on playing it to go back and watch like some interviews, but I was hoping that was one of my motivations for finishing, was like I want to finish it so that I can go just binge a bunch of interviews and
Right.
get the other part of the story, the development story and all that.
Yeah. It is cool stuff.
There's got to be someone that's done a massive video essay. I was thinking that like Tim Rogers, I like his super long video essays, and I don't think this game would like be one that he would look at, but it would be cool to see someone like him do his like incredibly thorough, commenting on every aspect of it or something.
Yeah, I've seen his name, but I don't think I have listened to anything with him. But yeah, I would love a good long video essay or two about this for sure.
Tim Rogers is worth checking out. It's funny, like I had very much the same feeling playing this game as watching one of his video essays, because his essays will be like 6 or 7 hours and they touch on every aspect of the game, and particularly his Cyberpunk like 2047 or whatever that game is called. He has like a 6-hour review, and then you choose your own adventure. You pick like he has like 5 other 6-hour videos and you pick 2 of them. So in total, it's maybe like 12 hours of like watching his review of this thing.
Cool.
And he really he's great at just going incredibly deep, but then bringing back like themes and like hitting you with them. And then at the end, it really all comes together in like a way where you feel like it's always like 2 a.m. when I'm like, I've made the commitment to just finish watching his video and just as long as it takes. And then I'll be like just tired. And it's 2 a.m. and he's like delivering these incredible, profound insights that summarize like hours of what he's told me. about whatever game he's talking about, and it's just like this unbelievable thing that like is like a physical experience because it takes so long to watch them that you just have to have like endurance or something. And that was similar to like this game where you're like, okay, it's good already. Like you just see but it keeps like delivering you content,
Yeah.
and you're like, I'm committed to this because this is great, but I can only hold on. Like you're just hoping
Uh-huh.
that you can like make it, to the end, uh, without
Yeah,
like almost like a burnout style thing. Yeah.
that is the good stuff. Yeah. I'm just the constant amping up. Yeah, I'm just remembering the scene with the in the hallway between the mother and the daughter. Like, yeah, just like how that was
Mm.
framed. I was like, this is just a work of art. And then it keeps going and going and ramping. But yeah,
Yeah, the stair, like they're on the stairs. That one.
yes, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, that one stood out to me as well. And it felt like this whenever I see a scene like that, I always think, can this stand alone? And can someone make a 1 minute game that just has a scene like this? Or it's interesting, like if you could prime people in some way, like give them a 2 or 3 or 5 minute experience and then hit them with that scene and have
I,
like what amount of pre-work is needed to really land a scene like that. uh
yeah,
and so I guess it's something, yeah, because you have to, in order to have like references to a bunch of stuff that come together, you have to have either built that or know that the audience has all those references. And that's a
right,
fascinating thing because I really like those moments where it's just like a cinematographic moment where everything's there. And uh but yeah, I always think,
yeah.
can I, it's like, can I make something like that without having to make a multi-hour thing? Like, just can I just directly make uh a thing itself?
Yeah, something that affecting that I think it's possible, but probably very
Mhm.
high difficulty.
And
Yeah.
maybe it's got to rely on uh like these, everyone who's like a human or in certain cultures has references that when you see like a piece of art
Yeah.
that like really resonates, it's sort of unlocking like lived experiences that you've had that it's playing on. And then but then it's like,
Yeah.
if you haven't had those, if you don't just happen to know those things or live through them, then it doesn't, you would basically have to play a game like this to give you all the references to then like shock you with the thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I guess like people have extremely affecting experiences from looking at paintings sometimes. So I guess it's totally possible
Mhm.
that's one frame. So
Yeah.
yeah, it requires a lot of skill and cultural touch points and yeah.
So then I was gonna ask, uh, do you put in work to your Pretty Trees game, or like how's that going? Uh, do you have
Yeah.
some progress you've made?
Yeah, I haven't worked on it um in the past uh like week and a half. Um I had a very sudden urge to start uh chess streaming. So I've been doing that and
Mm.
then been working on silly YouTube chess video, and it's been a fun sort of creative side thing. Um,
Mhm.
but I do want to keep game development as the main thing, and um, I just I have trouble with it because I get so invested that I don't like stop thinking about it. Um, and
Mm.
then I get burnt out real fast. So I'm trying to figure out the, I guess, just work life balance and um But yeah,
Yeah.
progress has been made over the past, I don't know, 6 months to a year, and a lot of stops and starts and throwing things away. But I showed it to some friends last weekend or maybe 2 weekends ago, and that was fun. Like, yeah, it's only like a few minutes of gameplay currently that's like playable, but uh,
Mhm.
it was cool to show it to folks. Yeah.
That's cool. And yeah, the the way that this project is reminds just it's very interesting to me uh to know like yeah, like the stuff you've said there, that you can get like so invested in it or you get distracted by other things, or like how much you want to keep it going as sort of a main thing, but it's hard to balance the work. Those are all things that I also wonder. I wish I could sort of solve that problem in a general way of, can I put in like an hour or a bit more a day into projects that I want to be like my main focus projects, and not do more than that suddenly and then burn out and then do nothing for a while. Uh, that's something that I wish I had a better rhythm for. But sort of sometimes with game development, it feels like you got to launch the game engine, get back to where you were, make a plan for what's the next thing. It has to sort of, like, I don't want to half finish. Like, some things are not finishable in one sitting, and those are very difficult because to like finish them halfway and then save and close everything and come back to it. There's like a cost to like getting read back into what was I doing, and so it's
Yeah,
tricky to manage
yeah, I
a
agree.
project
I
like that.
feel like the startup cost of working on
Yeah.
game development is higher even than just other software engineering. Like, just so much context to load up on, and yeah, the activation energy is high for sure.
And
Yeah.
the other thing
How's
was
okay.
what was your question?
I was just gonna ask about your project, your 3JS walking simulator. If you've
Yeah,
thought
I
about it
don't.
more.
Yeah, yeah. I think my goal will be do a Godot project. I still want to make like a proof of concept Blender to 3JS project, because I really like the idea of hitting a website directly and as quick as possible getting into like an experience
Hmm.
without any loading time or as a minimum like memory footprint. But maybe I'll do that as like a one-off thing quickly at some point. But then I think I am switching back to sort of Godot, because I just realize setting up particle effects and shaders and all this stuff, it just makes more sense to do the level. I think I would do some, I'll build my level in Blender and I'll nest, like I'll make like a object hierarchy. I'll give layer names and I'll put lights, and then that will be sort of what I do in Blender. And then at some point it will come over all at once into Godot, and then I'll make some, like, maybe I'll do some automatic adjustments. I'll have to tweak like the lighting values, for example. And then,
Hmm.
but then it'll be like shader development. There'll be like development of shaders and testing in Godot and wiring up various like automatic doors and stuff. And then then maybe I then there'll be sort of maybe like 2 or 3 iterations of that where I go back to Blender and like make all these modifications and bring it back over maybe 2 or 3 times. And then I feel like that will become, and then the final product will be a fixed size like game window that gets put on itch.io.
Nice.
That'll probably be like the main way that I make games going forward. And then yeah, I'm just pretty interested in, at some point I just want to make like a very lightweight website that has like a 3D experience that doesn't have that just has the 3JS library and as pure as possible, like just that, and then some like generated audio and stuff.
Hmm.
But yeah, it
Cool.
seems too finicky to do anything precise with just like Blender and 3JS only. There's not enough like tools to support there's always like one custom thing that I need, and you just need tools and an editor and the ability to like, play, pause, and drag and drop things around the scene to get something to get to production, basically, it seems.
Right. Yeah, I feel like based on the other games you've released, you've gotten pretty skilled with Godot at this point, and probably quick with all the tooling. That's helpful.
Yeah, I'm always trying to get better at like organization, like project organization. But sometimes now I make the decision that when I never make a game thinking that I'm going to reuse any part of the game. I figure out how to make it, and then if the whole code is like a jumble of code and a bundle, like when it's shipping, as long as people are playing it, it's bug free, and the project is done, then I don't have any. I feel like that's my goal now. I'm not targeting any higher, like cleaner organization than that.
Yeah.
And that allows me, to like sort of get projects done, make them work, and not endlessly like be cleaning and refactoring and trying to make things like as understandable as possible.
Right. Yeah, sort of software engineering instinct to do that.
Yeah.
I feel like when I was working as a software engineer, I was hyper attentive to like, I don't know, readability and code structure, just all of that, and like, yeah, to the point of being a little bit compulsive about it. And now I'm like, I've moved in the exact opposite direction, and my code for the game I'm working on is, I would be embarrassed to show anybody. It's such a mess. Maybe slightly to the detriment, since it's a slightly bigger game. Like it has confused me especially when I take breaks and come back. It's like, what was I doing? But yeah, I think it is. That's one thing I like about game development, is like, as long as it works, then that's it. You don't need to maintain it necessarily, unless you, I guess, have a live service game or something.
And that seems true about even double A or triple A games that are successful. Whenever they do show the code or they talk about the code, it doesn't. You don't get the impression that they've done anything more than ship the game any way possible. I don't think that like code cleanliness is something they are paying the cost for, or even I don't think it's like possible even to clean things up in a way, or there's no point to it. Like extra time, extra money, and the game is not really going to be reused and it's got to be just efficient. You wouldn't want to pay like frame rate cost for any sort of cleaner architecture on the code side. You just want things to be like, I think like laying out in memory is big for them, and then it's like, if you just have like things laid out in memory and pointers to memory, then you don't want like a sophisticated loading and unloading thing. You just want everything to be, you just want as much like low level control, and that, I think there's a trade-off between that and how readable and abstracted the code can be, if you care about like the memory addresses and stuff on that level or something like that.
Yeah, true. Yeah, different set of concerns.
Yeah, we so we talked about a game jam. This was, I guess I was just randomly on itch.io, and I know they have like a game jam tab, and I always think it would be cool because it's so easy. Like it's cool to, like, I like game jams, and it would be neat to just for practice like make one and make it just like kind of self-running, and pick a time and a theme and put it on itch.io, because then I could see in the future, I feel that I would like to make YouTube videos that teach people game dev, and then also link little like game jams on itch to the videos, and get more of a yeah, people learning and people making games and people being told, this is the weekend where the jam is going to be. And so then, learn the thing, do the thing, and help people have like motivation, like a rhythm, like create like a rhythm for other people that they could benefit from. But now I did some thinking about what kind of game jam I would want to put together. And so now I have like a pretty clear idea about what I think is a pretty cool game jam idea that's fairly clear in my head. And it might be, it's maybe a bit ambitious because in the ideal form, so like the tools that I would want, like part of the jam idea would be like people are learning and using the array of like free tools that are available on the internet, which I use. And those tools are like Blender, Godot, DaVinci Resolve, OBS for screen recording. And then what else? There's like VCV Rack is like it simulates like modular synths for music, and I don't know how to use it very well, but it's possible. Like it's free, and you can make sort of modular synth style music with it. And then cool. Audacity is good for like recording audio. And so then with all those, so my idea would be like build a jam that, well, the ambitious part is like I would kind of be signing, I would sort of want to make a 5-ish minute video for each of those applications that are sort of like, here's how to get the job done, like the fastest way to sort of use this free application to do the job that links up with the idea for the jam. So in Blender, that would be like just the basics of Blender of like from a new scene, here's how you like place a 3D rectangle and then adjust its like size. And then you'd say like, here's how to export the GLTF format. And then the Godot part would be, here's how to import a GLTF and put like a first person walking controller. And then similarly for the other applications, like here's, just like if you don't have any other way to record your screen, here's the OBS way. And then maybe like a quick, like in DaVinci Resolve, here's how you put together a basic video. Here's how you cut like a video. Just the 2 or 3 basic operations to like generate an edited video with an audio track. So
that's a great idea.
Yeah, that's the part that requires like the work on my part is maybe making those videos and then I want like a summary video that pitches the idea of the jam directly. But so that's like the part that I don't know how much work I'll put into that, or if these videos will ever manifest, or whether I'll just, at least for the first one, that like no one's going to join this jam or whatever, I'll just not do that stuff and then just focus on maybe one overall summary video, assuming people can get the knowledge of these apps or use whatever apps. And then in a future jam, maybe build those videos and have a more jam that's supported with its own like educational material. And then, but there's one, here's the idea that I think is maybe unique, is that the deliverable, like maybe this would be like a 3-day jam, like a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Mm-hmm. And the thing that you deliver, the thing that I would sort of pitch to people as the thing they should deliver for the jam is a video. So it would be a video and a game. And the video, so essentially you'd make like a 3D environment in Blender, put that in Godot, and then you'd screen record yourself. You could have like you could set up like multiple cameras in Godot that you could like tab between, or have like you could have like a flying first person controller or a walking one, or like toggle between them in your game. But using those to like do a screen recording of your game to capture whatever you sort of footage, like B-roll or footage of things that are in your game. And when I say game, it's just like a small walking simulator environment.
Yeah.
And so that's how you get the video footage. Then with like Audacity and stuff, you start telling like a story. Maybe it's a made up story, probably. My vision would be like, this is the interior of an alien spaceship, and we obtained, it's some fake story about like obtaining this found footage, and they have what appears to be some kind of engine working here, or like, but you could imagine anything, or it could just be like a nice like vista and then you tell some like maybe a true story about your life while you have like nice like footage in the video being shown, footage that's recorded from the game. But then also So then the idea though is if you're playing the stuff that people made in the jam, you could watch like their video, which is giving you some kind of lore or some kind of like world building while it shows footage from the game. And then also in like the other half of your monitor or on second monitor, you can play the game and you're sort of walking, you're just first person walking around with maybe some music in the environment that you're also watching in the video. And that's what I would sort of pitch as like the thing that people should create for the jam. But then I think there's just a lot of potential with that, and it's kind of exciting because it would be pretty neat to have an experience where you're being like shown these nice, like sort of just, I think like just colored light falling across like basic Blender squares looks pretty nice. And so you're being told like some kind of story or some kind of lore in this short video, and then you're also able to walk around in that same space that you're seeing in the video, but it's like you walking around in the game, and then it feels like you've learned something and the space has more value, but then also you're able to kind of walk around and explore it, and it feels like you've been given the chance to visit this cool place you've seen in this video for real. Or I'm sure like creative people could come up with like some totally different thing I'm not thinking of a way to make that even more interesting.
Yeah, I love that idea. I think like almost like learning how to cut a trailer, but it's not actually a trailer. It's more like or maybe it's like an auteur's trailer, like a Kojima trailer that like has its own story and along with the game. I think that would be
it's cool trying to come up with the language. Yeah, like how you say it's like a trailer but not quite a trailer. And I've been playing around with like is it like world building or like a concept trailer for an idea, but like a very small idea, or like a short, you could do sort of like a short documentary pretending like if you pretend you are the character in the game and you are filming a documentary about whatever space you're in. That's kind of interesting because then it's like you could imagine who you are, or you could just say like this is me walking around like as if that's your real life, in the way that we would go out and film like short documentaries of whatever is our lives or something. But it's interesting thinking because you could almost create like a new idea, a new like medium in like a little bit where it's like an augmented, you could come up with like some fancy name like augmented game or something, and then that would be like a new genre. And this is the minimal augmented game would be like a 1-minute experience that contains video, like self-playing video and an interactive game that are not directly connected, but like
the picture-in-picture thing does sound quite unique, and I feel like you could get really creative with that gameplay wise. I think for a game jam, just can I guess people can do what they want, but having the goal mainly just to be walking simulator level, like not too in depth in terms of gameplay. But I could also see like the ability to do more with that, where the video is revealing things to you that affect the game more in depth. Like helping as a very simple example, like you have to notice something in the video to be able to solve a puzzle.
It's fun.
But I love the lore.
With these ingredients.
Sorry, go ahead.
Because like I've seen like really high end world building. Like I think that's what they are. Like I think Netflix at some point there's some like movie studio that makes these like 10-minute YouTube videos that seem like they are a trailer for a much larger TV show or franchise. Like Like there's this one particular video that's like 10 minutes long, and it's about these like aliens that visit and attack Earth. But the way that the world is like fully fleshed out and the quality of the animation makes you think like, well, this has got to be like a advertising some movie or something, but it's just like a standalone one-off thing.
Yeah.
And so that's been in my head of like, you know, obviously like that is like incredibly high fidelity like CGI and animation in this one trailer, but if you just reduce that down to some kind of like minimalist brutalist architecture, and then you talk about some kind of ritual as you show like a something on a whatever it's called, like a stone table with some kind of object on it, and then the background's like blurry, and you're just talking about some kind of like ritual that takes place in this temple, but the temple is just like a minimalist Blender rendered thing. But then also you have the players walking around the temple as you sort of tell that story, and you show like scenes from you show
it's a
the
fun
video.
storytelling exercise.
Yeah.
I think people would really enjoy that. I think I would enjoy that.
Because that also, I guess, I have this idea of like whenever Doc Lightning happens again for Min-Max, I'm playing around with the idea of just making like getting a bunch of footage, like doing my series of Min-Max videos have been like me running or me walking around. So then now it's like I could do like footage of a walking simulator, but I don't want to do like another game. I would want to build a little environment in Blender and then walk around in that, and then have that be the footage. But then so that's the idea right there, is like, well, then I would have like, in order to film that footage, I would have to make sort of a walking simulator to do that, and then I would have both a video of me walking around in a space telling a story, and then I would also have the ability to just like have that be a space that other people could walk around in, and maybe they would want to watch the video as they walk around in the space. And then it's like that, and then so then this whole jam is kind of just off that idea.
Yeah, that's super cool. Yeah, I have one idea. Maybe I mentioned it on the first call we did of this, but like posting both watchables and playables of like snippets from my game. The playables just being like embedded itch.io games, and the watchables just YouTube videos. And yeah, I am currently been trying to record YouTube video of like one of the environments in my game and just tell a little story with it as like a side lore, like informing the game, though not heavily optional. And that has been really fun. Like I think it's a creatively energizing to take something that you've already made and be like, how can I play around with exploring this environment, like with, cameras and inputs and voiceover. Like, you can do so much with so little to make like an interesting story, or just maybe it's not interesting to other people, but at least for yourself.
Yeah, 1,000 Times Resist did a really good job with that. With like sometimes you're like every environment in that game, they get so much out of it with all the different angles, and they style it differently. They swap objects around. They have different angles. Sometimes it's just like two characters are talking, but they cut, like they show like the feet of the characters, one person's face, the other person's face, like both characters. They have an interesting framing where like objects from the scene are in the camera when like the camera will do like a really wide shot. That was such a, I really like that stuff. Yeah. Oh yeah, the theater. That's true. Yeah, a lot of it is like informed with stuff they do with a real camera and real actors. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I think it's a really good touch point, bringing it full circle back to 1,000 Times Resist.
We had a commenter on our first episode that we posted someone commented on the video and they said that they were commenting on your idea of putting playable demos on your website, and they were saying that
Oh yeah.
it could add like extra, like they were feeling it maybe it adds extra overhead to the development cycle, and
True.
their recommendation was like check out like other indie game, like see what other indie games websites do, and like watch the analytics or something, see if it's like if that pulls visitors. But then they said it was a cool idea and it would be great like in a portfolio. So then
Oh, nice.
I guess if you're making stuff for a portfolio anyway, might as well, if you can find a way to make it that easily gets put on the website.
Yeah. I think I'm especially with this game not expecting or going for commercial success, and um, so but I do want to finish it at the same time. So yeah, and
Yeah, with the goal of finishing it. That's what gets
Yeah.
tough, is if
Yeah.
because it could put finishing it. That's the only thing I would watch out for, is like if you burn out on putting stuff on the website, then
Right.
that it's like prioritize finishing it, I guess. Yeah. I
Yeah,
always think that too. I feel it's just, there should be like, tech should work, like it should be way easier to take a snapshot of a game and put it on a website, but it always feels like there's so many things one has to do to get something from somewhere to run somewhere else, or a piece of it. It's like
right.
it
Yeah,
shouldn't
it's
be.
like I haven't shipped like
Yeah.
one Steam game or more non-game jam game. So just like going through all those steps, I'm sure is going to be 10 times more than what I expect. And yeah, so I think it's a good point.
The dev duck guy, in one of his recent videos, he's like, I took 5 months off. Like he has like a full-time job, and then he makes like the dev duck, the main game, this like marine biology game, is like a part-time hobby for him. But
I checked
it's
that
like
out.
really, yeah. And then but in the video, if it's the same one you watched, he's like I took 5 months off, and in those 5 months, I like shipped another game on Steam for practice, and it's like
Wow.
he makes like it was like a little task, like an idle game that you can put in a second monitor to sort of have like a little checklist and gamify it. But
Yeah.
it's just so funny. His videos are like, it's like, not only is it a good video that like I would burn out making a video of the quality that he makes, but it's like a video of him making a game that I would burn out making the game that he's making. And then like when he takes a break and like fully ships a game on Steam in his time off from making the game, in addition to his like full-time job going on in the background. It's just like
Built different.
yeah, it's totally people. Some people are just, they can like compartmentalize, and there I feel some people have an ability to like arbitrarily abstract anything and organize, they can organize and do whatever they organize. They don't have to like, and there just seems to be no limit. Like they just sort of, they decide they're going to do some things, and they break down those things into smaller things, like schedule them, do them, then schedule while they're doing it, or and there's no like moment where they're just like looking at a calendar of tasks and just zoning out and deciding like scrap all that, it's too complicated.
Right.
They just keep going like task by task somehow.
That ain't me for sure. Yeah, I feel like it's like there's some saying about like you don't rise to the level of your willpower, you fall to the level of your systems. Something like that. It's like people must have very good systems. And just
I wonder though, sometimes I wonder that these people that are so good at like they pick a thing and then they can do that thing, it's almost a disadvantage in that whatever they pick they're going to do. And that's like a kind of like a curse. Like it's like they don't experience like some kind of, they don't experience like giving up or something. Like they just sort of they just kind of like go forward until they succeed. And there's a question there where it's sort of like, what like is having success what one should want? Like, it's sort of like I guess one thing for me is like to avoid the hassle of putting a game on Steam, whatever that would entail, like filling out the forms and doing the, getting it a product on Steam and maintaining it there and dealing with sales. Like you can kind of avoid all that by just being like too lazy to do that, and so then you can just make games and not worry about that other piece. But these other people who can, like, they have a game on Steam, they have people playing it and buying it and writing them, and they can just sort of keep taking on things without issue they're just like doing so much that they don't get to like return, they don't get to like have everything boil off and find out who they are or something by just being like a bored person who like wonders about, like, it's like they never they don't like question what they're doing, I guess. Yeah, I guess that's what it is. They just sort of, they think of something, they lay it out, organize it, and then do it, and they never, along the way, they don't question the greater purpose of the actions or what they're doing or the outcome. They're sort of just, and maybe it's, sometimes it like becomes a line, like they just sort of think, oh, I should like put this on a store, sell it, charge a price, like, and then they just do all that, and they're never, and it's just like doing it because they can, because that's what people would do if they had the ability to say, let's do everything. But then they're never forced to sort of be like, well, that's going to be a certain amount of work and it will make me tired, and so therefore I have to balance, is it worth putting this thing on a store versus saving the energy and putting it out some other just free way, or not putting it out. It's sort of, it's nice to like just be in a position to like reflect on that or have limits or something.
Yeah, I think, I'm like of two minds about being regimented with creative work, where I've
Mm-hmm.
seen the advice that I think is likely true, that having a schedule like helps creativity, to like for writers to write every morning, even if you're not feeling it,
Oh yeah.
just write, even if it's bad, or and you just kind of, that's what unlocks things. And I do see, maybe it's a different trait that can sneak up on people, that's, maybe it's just capitalism or something, like it, just that the sort of sneaking pressure of, I need to sell this thing and I need to make this thing, that can
Mm-hmm.
affect the art. And like, I think about, I don't know, do you know Brandon Sanderson,
I
writer?
don't think so.
I think he's probably like currently the most popular fantasy writer.
Right.
And he's incredibly prolific. And I used to love him. I read like all his books. He has a cosmere of multiple series. I think it's up to like 50 books now and then he has other
Oh.
books that aren't in that. It's like an extended universe thing. Um, and it's, yeah, I've fallen off a little bit, but I still really love his work, and I think he's a great writer, and like his stories are fun and good. And like, it seems to me that he maybe could achieve, or yeah, his work doesn't achieve the heights that some other writers do for me,
Hmm.
because I feel like for him, it's just what he does. Like, when he takes a break from writing, he writes a different book. And I don't know, yeah, if there's like a, as much of a struggle or a um yeah, it's almost like a 9 to 5. It feels like where he's
Right.
really good, and I really like his books, and he's immensely popular, and I have no knocks on it really. It's just there are other writers that I think are that have written better books for me, and I wonder
Mm.
if it's because they were less, I don't know, worried about making a lot of books, like and
Yeah.
publishing them, and the machinery of it all. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, there's something pretty interesting about that. Yeah, it's like having an organizational, like having the ability to set a schedule and organize and produce, like in specifically for books, like produce a lot of books. It's like there's logistics that are occurring there where everything is sort of planned out in a certain way so that it all lands and it's getting out on a schedule. And then but then yeah, there's never, like, it's somehow it avoids the tension, like the emotion, the stress, the tension of being a bit chaotic and unplanned, and then having to come up with something like creative to wrap up a story, or having it, like having sort of problems to solve, and you sort of feel the human cleverness of delivering the final, like for writers that are maybe more chaotic or writing only one book, or it's like a book that they need, it's like the one, their one passionate story, or they need it to succeed or something. They add in some extra like kick where you feel they really put something into it, versus maybe ones that, like the process by which the books are created is too clean, and so the book is too clean. It's free of the the grit that makes it feel unique or something. It's like a like
Yeah.
clothing
Yeah.
today. Clothing today is all from like machines and stuff, and it's like high quality clothing, but it's not unique, and it doesn't have little flourishes around the edges that someone that really cares about it would like put into it. It's just like
Yeah. That's a good
yeah.
analogy. The
But
human
the yeah
touch.
you it's reminding me of like the controversy of like Miyazaki back a while ago, saying like he doesn't like AI, or he didn't like this one demo that was presented to him of AI,
Mm.
because, and he specifically said something like the people, like whoever's using AI to produce art, thinking that the goal is like the art or something, the outcome. Like he didn't say it in these words, but it seemed to me like he was saying the goal is not like the output and matching the output and saving time. The goal, like the purpose of any of this, is to endure some kind of, like to suffer and endure and experience the hardship of the creative process. And what comes out is like a distillation of the human condition of struggling or experiencing these things. And that's art, because it contains the stuff that was put into it. And then
Yeah.
yeah, like you
Interesting.
can't skip that. If you skip that stuff, then you've skipped it, and the end result may be identical in every way, but it's not gonna have a it's there isn't a person that went through something to create the art. There's just the art, and then what's the point then? Because the whole point was the people that are in there. And then
Mm.
yeah, like, and then we see art, and then we go through our own struggle to like express ourselves. And there's like a that's the sort of the like humans being inspired by one another. uh
Right. Right. Yeah, I feel like there's just so much amazing, incredible human art being
hmm.
created every day, and like I mean, yeah, I've yet to see like an AI thing, at least that I know of. Maybe I've been duped. That has, really moved me, and maybe that's why I feel, there's like it's similar to I didn't know about
Mhm.
this Miyazaki quote, but the another writer, Ted Chiang, who
Oh,
I
right.
think is,
Yeah.
you know this person?
I forget. Yeah, Ted Chiang. I've read his short stories, and then Arrival
Yeah,
movie is based on his short story. And I
right,
don't. I forget
right.
what I saw. He said something. I forget what it was or what it
Yeah,
was.
it was a little while back. I think it was like a sort of quick article. But yeah, he's someone that I think, like, his best short stories, in my opinion, are like, high art. Like, I think he
Mm.
really is immensely talented. But he made a point around it, like, artistic process being made composed of tens of thousands of small decisions, and when you take that away, like, it
Mhm.
comes through both in the work and in the process. I'm not sure. It's worth looking up, just like Ted Chiang's thoughts on
Yeah.
AI. But yeah, I'm not. I don't remember it as clearly. But I thought that was an interesting point. Similar point.
Yeah, and it's like our discussion of like specifically the dev duck person. They're so efficient. It invokes the same almost feeling in me where it's like this is a type, like not just him specifically, but like it's a type of person that when they make like they can churn out a lot of content with no struggle, with seemingly no struggle. Like maybe it is a struggle and they just sort of hide it, or it's
Right.
showing up in a different way that they themselves don't even see. Like it's seemingly they can just sort of go after whatever they want and produce whatever they want in a way that's very much like a machine. And so then when you witness it, you're sort of like, well, what's coming out is mind blowing. It's amazing. But then the effortlessness with which the person's creating it, that's not relatable because it's like, well, the stuff that's coming out, it's like either they're destroying themselves, which is not like healthy, or they're not feeling anything. And then in that case, it's hard to weigh the outcome when it's like, did they do this just because they could and it was easy, or is this something they really wanted to do? Like
Mm,
that's what I sort of see is like I whatever comes out as the output, I want to feel like this was a person that was driven and they really wanted to create and express something and they got it over the finish line, and now I'm being delivered this like product that is the like they've toiled on or whatever. But
yeah.
if it's just like if it's like the equivalent of it's just like someone who's much more talented, much more capable, just like doing something quickly, and it's like the same in absolute quality. It's the same as like what someone else spent their whole life on or something. But it's like, well, I'm more interested in like the person that spent their whole life on the thing, even if it's not even the same quality. But if this person just did it because they felt like it, that's not like it doesn't feel as gritty or interesting,
Right.
even though,
Yeah, I
yeah,
feel
and that's
like
sort
it.
of, it's very interesting to try to, because it's so weird that like we think about content as the result, but somehow like it's like cooking with love or whatever, where
Huh?
it's like it
Yeah.
doesn't make any sense that the love can't possibly be in there, but
Right.
somehow you can taste it,
Shows
and
up.
it's like yeah.
It somehow shows up. Yeah. Yeah, I totally see that. I think it does show up in the work, and it's like, I also think about, the beginner's guide, which I know you've
Mm,
played because you did the sort
yeah,
of
yeah,
min-max
I like
parody of it.
beginner's
Where
guide.
it's like, with the dev guy and Brandon Sanderson, it's like we have no idea really, unless they're very, very explicit in
Mm,
interviews. But even then, it's like we really don't know exactly what their process is and what they're going through. Like, we can kind of only speculate just based on, like, their output and, um
mhm.
like, for individual people, I guess. But it is like, yeah, I feel like it just it shows up in the work when it's like, uh when something, and it's, it is so personal, like how something will hit somebody. But yeah,
Mm,
I think when someone's like not uh, putting their heart and soul into something, like I think it is, even if they're, the most skilled person in the world, I think it's likely that it's just less likely to land. And it's almost like this undefinable thing, but I think people can pick up on it. It's like how people can read facial cues like down to just, absurd detail without even thinking about it. Like there's just there's subconscious processes that take over, where you can sense something that is hard to put into data. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's so cool to think about how, yeah, that's a good point about the facial expressions, because that's like a good example of a ton of information that can bleed into something that we can't even consciously recognize necessarily. And then there's so many other channels that stuff can come in from.
Right.
But then even, yeah, there's like somehow, yeah, there's got to be a ton of like things that are no tangible thing, just there because of the way that something makes us feel, that is not connected to anything, even other than just our own specific brain.
Yeah, that's the other thing, is like, it's all completely personal. I'm sure there's people that I've been affected by some Brandon Sanderson books deeply, but I'm sure there's people that it's the most important thing in their life, and like that's completely valid, like no shade to that at all.
That's why totally I'm curious about this, like this idea that could you have a very basic scene with almost nothing in it, but if you sort of just tell, like if you somehow allow the viewer or the player to just accept that this is actually a really grand, important thing that is the result of some process, and then you just sort of give them permission to like feel that as if like, because anything that, like, if you go to like a museum and they're like, this piece of stone is like really old, and then it's like it just looks like a rock, like it could just be like a rock, but because they're telling you that and you believe that and everything, it's like, wow, this is amazing, like I can't believe that's the rock or whatever, that like the original. And so then so then if you sort of tell people like, like you appropriately advertise like this is a fake experience, but like don't you sort of just get them invested, like you want to have this impactful experience, and so then you just allow them to like suspend disbelief and get into a state of mind where then you just show them a really simple thing, and they willingly like blow their own mind,
right? They can fill
because
in the
that's
blanks.
like a fun thing to do.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I feel like, like with the rock example, it's like the story around the rock becomes part of the art too. Like, if the curation is saying something about it that affects how people experience it very deeply.
I don't want to go on. We can end soon. I just had this thought that I want to bring up, that was this idea of it's the story more than the actual thing. There was a moment where I realized, like, I like seeing like good architecture, and I like if I find a website that's advertising some like nice apartments that, that they like pitch you like, oh, here's like the nearby park and here's the apartments, and they look so like fresh and the wind blows through them and there's like a pool on the roof, and like there's a lot of times when I'll be looking at an apartment and like I'm never gonna live in the apartment that's being advertised. Like sometimes I don't even know what city it's in or whatever, or I'll never be in the same city. But I still imagine myself like, wouldn't it be so cool to live, in that place that's being sold to me like by this website? And so I started thinking that like a lot of the positive feeling and this imagining myself, like they're just telling me like you could theoretically live here because this is an actual building that exists, but me knowing like I'm never going to live in that building, but I can imagine myself living there, and like I can sort of really do a deep imagining because it's like, and this building actually does exist, and so I could live there if I wanted to, and so therefore it's even more fun to imagine living there because some people actually do in real life. And but
Right.
then I was realizing that like you could kind of make just like a really nice apartment building website, and you could even pretend like whatever place the viewers like living in,
Yeah.
like you could just make a totally fake website and just really deeply convince someone like you can afford to live here and you do want to live here and it's going to be amazing and everything. Like they could go on this whole fantasy journey of like, yeah, all I got, and then you could have like a fake sign up button and everything too that is like they can just live this experience of like, yeah, imagine finding this site, this website, and seeing all these nice photos, and that's what it's really going to be like. And then it could sort of, like it's just a. But then I started wondering, like, does it, like, no one is ever going to have the perfect life by living in an apartment. So whatever, even if you do go live in an apartment, it is not life changing. Like you're still the same person, and a lot of it is just like you may feel happy for the first amount of time you're living in a certain place, but that wears off, and you only felt that way because you like sold yourself on it. And so then it was this blurring of lines between like, is the thing that we want just to be convinced that we could be happy by clicking a button like on a website? If so, then you can just, let's just give people that, like give them a nice website that they get to click a button on, and then it's not like the feeling would have lasted much longer anyways if
Right.
they
Yeah.
really had the option to like spend the money and live there or something.
Like the hype around the video game is more fun than the release itself. Or
Because it's like some buildings are not even built yet, like it's like sign up to be on the wait list to get emails when we start construction. And so it could be
uh-huh.
like before, like for that year where you're like, well, in a year when they start construction, I'm on the wait list. Like you feel like you feel so good that you're like, and I'm going to go live there. It's going to be great. And it's like, they're just going to tell you in a year that they went bankrupt and they didn't build it. So
Uh-huh.
like, why not just do exactly that? But it's free, like you don't have to spend any money.
Right. That's funny. Yeah. That would work. Yeah. Yeah. There's I guess, yeah, very quickly, two things that made me think of were uh like I'm maybe I'm the only person in the world that feels this way who I read One Piece recently, like I caught up. And
Oh
it's
yeah.
it was quite an endeavor. Um and had a lot of fun. And now I'm like, I almost there's a part of me that doesn't want it to finish. Not
Mm.
because like I don't want to leave the world and all that. It's just like I love the space it's in currently where like there's an entire, you know, massive community of people like making theories. Like I love the
Yeah.
theories more than the actual story even. Like that's the fun part is the theorizing. For me. Well, I like all of it, but that's like the most fun part. Uh And yeah, it made me think of I think there's like a super eye patch wolf video about fake video games um
Mm.
that I thought was really interesting and yeah, I want to rewatch it now having had this discussion because I remember being very moved by it and intrigued, and I feel like this is it touches on a lot of the subjects we've talked about.
Yeah, Super iPash Wolf, his merch, he made like a fake anime for his merch. You know
Right.
about
Yeah,
that?
I saw that. That
Yeah,
was
and
decent stuff.
that's a neat idea too.
Yeah, yeah. Fun.
Mhm. Well, that was cool. I guess I'm free next. Yeah, we're just planning to do this most Tuesdays, or just let me know if you're busy or something, or whenever we can skip.
Yeah, for sure.
So that works for me. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I think I'm free next Tuesday and to talk. I can also tend to come up with subjects. But yeah, it's fun talking. Yeah, I'm free next Tuesday.
Yeah, we can plan for that then.
Sweet. Yeah, sounds good.
All right. Yeah, have a good night then.
Yeah, you too. Nice talking. See ya.
Bye.